Hi, welcome to this tutorial on being able to find the area of a circle. If we have a look at a circle first of all and just look at the various components of it, we've got the circumference that goes right around the outside. That's the distance around the outside of the circle. We've got the diameter, which is a line that goes through the centre from one side to the other of the circle, and the radius that starts at the centre and goes to the outside of the circle, touches the circumference. We've also got the area of the circle, which is the space inside the circle, measured in centimetres squared, metres squared, feet squared, whatever units you're measuring the circle in. Now, in order to find the area, we need to use the formula. Let's write it here. Area equals pi times the radius squared, often shortened to area equals pi r squared. Now, if we're going to use that, we need to know the radius. So this first example, example 1, is set up very nicely for us because it's given us the radius here. All we need to do is plug our value for 6 into the formula. But what's pi? Well, pi is a value that basically tells us that the circumference of a circle is a certain amount of times larger than what the diameter is. And that number for pi is 3.1415, and it continues on forever. It's an irrational number. Now, we often shorten that to 3.14, but we can use the pi button on the calculator, which I'll show you in a minute. Now, all we need to do, once we know what pi is, and once we know the radius, is to replace the letters in our formula with the values in the question that we're answering. So this first one is going to be the area equals pi, I'll write 3.14, times 6 squared. Now, as long as you're using a scientific calculator, that will apply BIDMAS for you. It will square it first and then multiply it by 3.14. If you're using a basic calculator, you would have to do 6 squared first to give you 36, and then multiply your answer by pi. But most of you should have a scientific calculator, and you need one if you're doing GCSE. Now, let's type that in. So 3.14, or pi times 6 squared, and that gives us an answer of 113.097. So the area is 113.097. If we round that to one decimal place, we get 113.1, and the units, because the radius was in centimetres, the units will be centimetres squared because it's an area. Now let's have a look at the second example here, e.g. 2. This time we don't know the radius. Remember, the radius goes from the centre to the rim. We know the diameter. Now, unlike with when we were finding the circumference, we had a separate formula when we knew the diameter and for when we knew the radius. With area, we don't. We just have to adapt this question so that we find the radius and can put it into the formula. Well, it's pretty easy to do because the radius is always half the size of the diameter. So the radius for this one will just be 9. So all we do is we put that into our formula. The area is going to equal pi, 3.14, multiplied by 9 squared. So if we type that into our calculator, type pi times 9, press the squared button, and that's going to give us an answer of 254.469. So the area is 254.469. Then we just need to round that to the appropriate amount of decimal places, which, if we round it to 1, is 254.5 centimetres squared.